Hello everyone, my name is Steven Zapata. I'm a concept artist, illustrator, online art teacher, and former instructor at Art Center College of Design. I would like to introduce you to my new drawing course, Form from Imagination, a course designed to help you draw with confidence from your mind. Maybe you want to be a professional illustrator or designer, maybe you want to be a master with a pencil, or maybe you just want to be the best artist that you can be. Beautiful goals. But it's not always clear how to improve the work that you do from imagination. Over the past 6 months, I've taken all of the little eurekas, tips, and essential exercises that gave me confidence drawing from my mind and compiled them into a sequential course. We start with the absolute foundations, covering the scientific nature of light and shadow, how to hatch, how to create flat tones, how to render spheres and cubes, and step by step, we move through combined shapes, complex shapes, organic shapes. We cover how to simplify extremely complex subjects like the head into basic shapes so that you can handle them more easily from your head. We look at how to understand and treat details. And by the end of these 14 chapters with over 50 video lessons, you'll be ready to do complex designs from your mind with fidelity and energy. And all the demos are done in pencil on paper, so you can do all of the assignments even if you don't have a fancy digital art setup. But I also have demos, instructions, and modifications to the assignments for those who do want to do them digitally. Here's how it works. Go to formfromimagination.com and sign up for the course. Download the assignment book and start watching the lectures. Do the assignments at your own pace. Take your time with them and use this self-study to develop your patience. When you're done, post your assignments in the exclusive community hub, and I'll personally critique your work with drawovers, diagrams, and advice. I want you to know, this course is no joke just because it's online. It is challenging content, and it is more complete than it would be if I was teaching this class at an art college as I have before. If I was teaching this class in person at Art Center today, I would just play these videos in class, knowing full well that they're the most concise, focused, edited, step-by-step way to convey the material. So I'm serious when I say, this course isn't just a substitute for a college-level course, it's better than a college-level course. And you don't have to pay thousands of dollars per credit and wind up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So thank you for checking out the course, thank you for watching this and for your support, and thank you for drawing and making your artwork. The world needs it. I'll see you soon. Dear friends. Dear friends. Let's see. Hold on. Camera looks a little funny. Is my white balance off? No, I guess that's right. Though that looks more natural to me. But screw it, I'll forget. So let's just leave it on auto. Let me look green and desaturated. That's fine. Let me get my mic in a good position for being... What way am I facing here? Every time I want to switch from digital to traditional, I gotta move the little setup around. All right, can you guys hear me okay? When I talk facing this way, does this sound loud enough? Hello to Johnny Pearson, Reynola Dominguez, Arashi Nakamura, my dear Joseph Marziliano, Drinkwater, Lac Asylum, Riverview, Froggy, Stefan Gobert, Eddie, Smothered Art Atale, Bartoses, Nobody, and Pawoo. Pawoo! It's Sunday. We're chilling. I'm gonna draw in pencil a little bit, just because I haven't in a while. And I feel like it. Hold on. Take some things off my display here. That's good. Move that over there. Enhance. Just make sure I'm in focus here. All right, baby. Johnny Pearson says, been a while, but Steven's streams opened me up to more art possibilities. Love to hear that. Also discovered new books here, Hyperion, Blood Meridian. Both very good books. Both very good books. Blood Meridian wound up being a favorite of mine. Very difficult book, philosophically. That's one of the few books that changed my mind about a couple things. There's only been a few books that have done that. It's like that, and that doesn't mean there's books I like better that didn't change my mind about anything. You know, it's not some criteria of goodness that a book should change your mind about something, but it's just a rare experience, at least for me. And Blood Meridian changed my mind about things, and so did Three Body Problem, a Three Body Problem series. I don't know what I'm gonna draw right now. I'm just gonna doodle. Sketchbook entries, you know how it is. It's Sunday. It's been a long week. I'm a little tired from blading this morning. I'm on my rollerblading nonsense. Is my microphone part? Yeah. We'll doodle a few things. Because whatever. Taking it easy. Hyperion changed my brain chemistry. Is Three Body Problem good? Yeah, what's the name of the actual series? Forgive me if I'm wrong, I think it's a Remembrance of Earth's Past. Classic. It's always like, that happens with every TV show. The actual name of the original books and stuff like that is always some crazy nerd thing, like Song of Ice and Fire. And then the people who make it mainstream They're always like, let's just name it after the first book. But yeah, the book series is fantastic. I mean, if you're into sci-fi. I'm not gonna say it's gonna convert anybody who isn't into sci-fi, but I think if you're already into sci-fi, some of the best stuff you can read. Hello, Autumn Rose. Do I want to listen to music today? I might just want to listen to music. And I'm feeling a little tired today. I might just want to play like real music. And just let Universal Music Group take the stream revenue. Because I don't really make any money off these streams anyway. What I do make money off of, what is my livelihood, and what does mean a lot to me if you support me, is if you check out the course, which I have on sale right now. You can see the info right under me and down there. Spring sale, Form from Imagination. $100 off the version with feedback from me, $50 off premium and core. You look quite blue, my friend. Yeah, I see that. That's all right. I can fix it, but if I fix it, I'll forget that I did it, and then I'll just have to adjust it again for the next stream, so I just don't care. I'm not actually blue. For anyone who's worried about me, I'm not eating, what's it called? What is it? Colloidal silver or something like that? I'm not taking that weird silver supplement. It's just the white balance on my webcam. Why is the setup different, Steven? Setup's not different. Oh, you mean like why am I not in my little circle? Just because I want the sale card up, and if I put it on the right, it would block my hand. So I moved me and the card over to the left side of the feed, and just because it'd be awkward to have that square thing in the bottom left and then a circle thing on top of it. It's just like a lot of clashing shapes. The paper's square. I just put my face in a square feed so that it's just a clean grid across the stream instead of having a random circle thrown in there. Kareem says, hello, when will you try oil painting and conquer the oil painting scene? As soon as I find room for an oil painting setup. I live in New York City, so real estate is at a premium. The thing with oil paint is that I can't mess around with it. Like if I'm gonna use it, I need to do it for real. Like I need to have a dedicated space and I need to do the ventilation. So, like for example, I couldn't do it in here. Maybe people don't understand that when I talk about this. If I set up a painting area, it can't be in this room because this room is very poorly ventilated. I only have one small window in the studio. I would need to put it elsewhere in the home where there's more windows and I can vent out of one with a fan. And I need to do that because I'm slightly allergic to oil paint. I've used them in the past and they give me hives. So it's not a deal breaker. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your health for paintings of goblins, but I do need to do the setup all in. I can't be a jackass about it. And then it's like, all right, well, if I'm going to stream that, I need to sort of arrange like a special streaming situation for that. So it's a whole thing, you know. Lack says, Steven tried to discuss what good means to my literature professor, and she immediately shut me off for being off subject and too philosophical. She can't handle the Zapata Zen state. Yeah, a lot of people are just not, they're not trying to have that. Even a literature professor though, huh? Yeah, you know, even a claim as, to me, as uncontroversial as there's no objective structure to art is actually highly controversial. There is a lot of people, there's even people in the chat right now in this stream who, for prejudice reasons, weirdly, surprisingly, I find political reasons, they will refuse to entertain that notion on all sorts of grounds. And it's mystifying to me. There's so many people who, I'm not kidding, this is for real, they won't entertain the notion that there's no objectivity to art, not because they don't believe that about art, but they extrapolate to everything else in the world, and they fear that that means that they have no grounds to take a moral stand, that all evils in the world are permissible. Like they're saying untrue things about art to try to hold philosophical positions in other realms and other spheres, political realms and spheres and things like that. So it's weirdly controversial, actually, even those, as far as I'm concerned, very uncontroversial statements. I think a lot of it is this isn't to like dunk on it, but a lot of it just comes from you know what? I'm not going to talk about this. I saw where the conversation was going, and I hit the alarm bell. Oh my God, is Steven in black and white? No. I'm just desaturated. Highly desaturated. Colin says, the good is the platonic form as symbolized by mint ice cream. If you disagree, you are against the universe. Affirmative. Roger that. Saman says, interesting. Art is objective to me, but I understand my opinions are not universal. Yeah, it's just my opinion. Just I can't see that at all. I don't see what grounds there could possibly be to say art is objective. But that's the beautiful thing about art. It's so structureless that people can hold utterly opposing philosophical viewpoints on what is happening when they make art, and they can still make it. which an objectivist will say is evidence of objectivism, and a subjectivist like me will say is evidence of subjectivism. So really get tied up in knots here. Vinicius says, I entertain the thought, but I'm not totally convinced. It seems there is something in how a human body lets us see the world that gives us some kind of common ground. Yeah, no, there's just, I don't know. I just disagree. You guys are entitled to do your practice however you want. And I think that that's a base entitlement of the artist. I'm not really trying to convince anybody here. But I don't see it that way at all. It's just like there isn't an objective aspect anywhere in art. You know, values aren't objective, color isn't objective, design isn't objective. It's all based on predetermined lenses and interpretation, and you know the way that your culture makes you feel about particular things. The only parts of art that you can ever say are objective are only objective because they make allusion to something that is unartistic. So for example, anatomy, right? A doctor can learn all of anatomy from a book that doesn't have any pictures in it. Anatomy at its core is just a series of descriptions of bone insertions, of bone shapes, positions, connections, muscle insertions and origins, things like that. It would be difficult to learn it, of course, without pictures, but it's technically possible. So there, if you value that in art, you can pretend that that's objective, but the thing is that no one is under any obligation to engage anatomy in their art. So it's null. It's a null point. Same goes with another thing that's like anatomy is the physical interaction of form and light. That is to say, how light reveals form and color. You can make allusion to the science of how wavelengths of light trigger rods and cones in our eyes, and the science behind diffuse reflection, specular reflection, things like that. I do all those things, I use all those things, and I've had a lot of fun learning those things and deploying them, but that is not the only way to show form in art. Lots of people have art practices that do not engage with those things at all. And then the problem here is that a lot of people hear that and they go, all right, well, you're talking about abstract art and abstract art is shit, and you just ended it. You just ended the conversation. You just proved that there's no, that is a total secession to relativism, obviously, because you've had to fall back entirely on your opinion and your prejudices. Abstract art is awesome. There's tons of great abstract art. All representational pieces are at some scale of magnification abstract. There's nothing there, baby. There's nothing there. Didn't I just say I wasn't going to talk about this stuff? And again, people will resist this unto the ends of the earth because they think that it bleeds out into other things in life, which is, of course, not necessary, right? It does, but it's not necessary. You need never make laws about how to handle a court case based on what's going on the drawing board. You know, it's your own deep anxiety that's making you worry that something like that might happen. Art and the rest of the world there's distance. There's a great distance. Kareem says, bless us with one singular, individual, solitary, solo, odd, lone drawing of a female. Never. I draw ladies all the time, but I would never do it by request. That makes it weird. That arm nice, thank you, thank you. I tried that smooth bristle paper. I was shocked, literally giggling. It was like a whiteboard. It's very smooth, yeah. It's still, I mean, it still has some tooth, but it is very smooth. It's not for everybody. People just tend to land on one side or the other. They prefer a very smooth surface or they prefer a rough surface. And all effects are possible with either, with pencil. Anyway, not with like paint and stuff like that. There's more limitations. But in pencil, it's not really a huge deal. You just go with your preference. I definitely fall on I prefer smooth side. Now it says, Stephen, do you ever decide to step away from drawings when you feel like you've started to take them too seriously? I don't usually step away. When I feel I'm taking things too seriously, I just stop taking things seriously. But I have to tell you, at this point, it's very hard to take any individual drawing seriously. I've just done too many, you know? Just like I've seen like every kind of drawing come and go, ones that I had high hopes for, low hopes for. Spent a lot of time on them, they come out bad. Spend a little time on them, they come out great. It's just like, there's only so much you can know, you know? Sorry, my hair keeps touching the microphone. Sorry if you guys can hear that. Miles says, hi, Stephen. I wanted to ask this last stream, but I wanted to know if you had any art career advice. I like to draw and paint, but don't really know how I would make money from it. It's a hard question and an easy question. It's easy because you just need to apply your creativity to it, and there's no like rules. Like whatever way you can find to make money with it works. It's possible. Like, and the thing is, you can invent totally new ways that no one else has figured out. So in that sense, it's easy, but it's also hard, right? Because if you go down the well-worn roads, there's a lot of competition. But if you go kind of strike out in your own direction and try to do things weird, idiosyncratic, things like that, there's less competition, but you also have to kind of make the path yourself. You know, you're cutting through the jungle with a machete instead of following a hiking trail. Just remember, you don't need to do it the way anybody else does it. You could do it completely your own way. Work for companies, sell directly to the consumer, get with a gallery. You could become a full-time art streamer, make your living doing that. When you figure that out, when you crack that nut, come back and teach us all. Can you sharpen those smearing pencils? Never used them before? No, you cannot. They're just like rolled up really tight paper. They're just tightly rolled paper. So in my experience, at least, if you try to cut them or sand them, the whole thing falls apart. Maybe there's a different kind that you can sharpen or mess with more, but the ones that I use, no, they fall apart once you sort of start breaking their integrity. What mechanical pencil is that? This is the Pentel Sharp. It's very common. You just get it from like office supply stores. If you're in the United States, you'll find it even like the, even if you're not in a stationery store, if you're just like in a supermarket, they almost always have this pencil in the stationery aisle at the store, like the kids' school supply stuff. It's right there next to the circle guides and little plastic rulers. How do you stop yourself from going too dark? I can't find where I should stop rendering. Well, and with pencil, people rarely go too dark. Most pencil drawings wind up a very glassy gray. and could really do with more darks. Probably what you're referring to is over-modeling. The drawing feels too dark because you let the light shapes specifically get too broken up with inappropriate darks. And the only real cure for that common problem is to better understand the nature of the compression of the light, which is an artistic conceit, but also based on physics, the physics of light. So to give it to you in a single sentence, everything in the light, make it a little lighter than you're inclined to. And that's it. Steven, fan art stream when? You know I'm only good for 1 or 2 pieces of fan art a year. I would not expect it anytime soon. I just don't like doing other people's ideas. I like doing my ideas. I have very little energy for other people's ideas. In drawing, I mean, of course. As a fan, I have tons of energy, but... If Marvel wants a Zapata Spider-Man cover, they can pay him. If they ever raise their rates. I'm trying to design the most nonsensical character to ever exist. That makes sense coming from nobody. That's funny. What if you do other people's ideas in your ideas? Steven, if I buy your course on sale, would you treat me as inferior to those who bought it at full price? I would never know. It's not like when you post in the feedback area, I could go look if I was so inclined, but I don't have time for that. And it's not even really correlated with time, because I have people posting who took 5-month-long breaks and then suddenly they're posting again and things like that. Or there's people who bought it a year ago and then didn't start posting stuff for feedback until today. Like, there's no real way for me to tell who bought it when. And just to be clear, even if I could tell, no, I wouldn't treat you different, because I'm not an asshole and I take my products seriously. It would be a very unserious thing to do, to give people different kinds of feedback based on stuff like that. I don't think I could do that anyway. I'm not that kind of a... When people show me work, I go into a sort of disassociative fugue and I just like start rambling. You know, I can't hold myself back from pointing out the things that need to be fixed and things like that. I just like go. What cool art hacks do you know? Speaking as a poor artist who has to cut corners. Cool art hacks. Cool art hacks. Well, you mentioned poor. So if it's money, I don't know, stick to traditional. Traditional is very cheap when compared with digital. Once you get on the digital train, you're on an endless rat wheel of upgrading your computer, buying new iPads, paying for subscriptions, all this crazy stuff. That adds up like crazy over the years. Traditional, dust on paper. I mean, you could buy one. This is the only pencil I would ever need. What is this? $1.50 at a stationery store? It's made of plastic. It'll never run out. It'll never fall apart. The HB, the lead that I use, I bought one like jumbo pack that has like 20 containers of lead in there. I bought one jumbo pack 15 years ago. I'm still not halfway through it. So it's very, very cheap. Paper is relatively cheap. Even expensive paper is relatively cheap. Expensive paper, if you do the math on what comes in a pad, is like $1 a sheet, you know? Stick to traditional. Hello, Petronella. How are you? Why do you look so ghoulish today? It's just the white balance on my friggin'. Fine, everybody. God. Y'all need your Steven to be just right. He's got to be just right. Ooh, I need my Steven just right. All right, let's fix my white balance here. That's perfect. That looks like the room I'm in. All right, it's all fixed. We're ready to go. What color is my shirt? Yeah, that looks about right. Now on the next stream, when the lighting situation changes slightly, I'll have to do that again. The ghoulishness is fixed. If there is no objectivity in art, how can there be things to fix in art? Because you have things that you're going for. You have goals for individual pieces, things that you're trying to pull out of individual pieces. But that doesn't imply any overarching objectivity to art. There's never anything to fix in a piece of art in the way that you would need to fix a car, for example, where like objectively the car cannot run if this doesn't connect to that or something like that. In that sense of fixing, there is zero of that in art. There is nothing to fix in art. Again, if you make allusions to certain parts of art, right? Like for example, the chemistry of paint surface. There can be things to fix in the way that you need to fix a car, right? Because that's chemistry. Like you did the layering of the oil paint such that it cannot bind appropriately when it dries, right? Which is different, see, art's too broad of a term, which is different than the questions of picture making, composition, how to make a compelling drawing, things like that. So on the picture making, composition, compelling drawing side of things, there is never anything to fix in the way of fixing a car, right? But if we construct a particular game, right, which even that is artistry, we design a game, right? We design a game that says, I'm playing a game here, I'm running my art through a lens of I'm trying to make it more realistic, more abstract, I'm trying to stylize shapes. All of these things have absolutely no objective merit or structure. You cannot actually draw, like even hyperrealism, if you actually understand what hyperrealism is basically, academically speaking, focused on just reproducing photographic artifacts or specific photographic details. Just go read the fucking Wikipedia page for it. They say it right there. The people who lead hyperrealism and the people who put on hyperrealism shows, it's about reproducing photographic effects. They're not even pretending that they are trying to make something that looks like the way the real world looks, which you couldn't possibly. You can't possibly replicate raw visual perception, especially because even raw visual perception is not objective. You do not experience an objective visual perception of some real world that is out there. So you pick a game and then you play the game, and in a fixing situation, there you're playing the game with a teacher, right? So now there's two players in the game, and the two players creatively together try to fulfill the goals of that game. None of that is objective in the least. You can construct a game where the teacher and the artist are pretending and possibly deluding themselves into thinking that what they're doing is objective, and there's plenty of ateliers where there's 100 people deluding themselves and each other into thinking that that's what is happening, but it simply is not the case. It couldn't possibly be the case. But within those games, you can fix all you want, and I fix all the time, and I give tons of feedback, and I help students with everything, but I never ever put on any airs that anything that I'm saying is objective or what it means to make good work. I always remind them within this framework, in this game we're playing. And then that is important because it helps people carry things lightly, and then it makes it less likely, and this happens all the time, that anything that I say can hurt their art practice in a profound way, which, I mean, chat will just sound off now. So many artists out there have an experience of, because the game is being taken too seriously, being held too tightly, a teacher will say something flippant and ill-considered, and it will ruin an art practice for a decade. And that is just entirely unnecessary and based on a bad philosophical viewpoint, an unscrutinized philosophical viewpoint. Buggy says, I started the course today. I asked in the feedback section, but do you have any advice on making specular highlights look brighter / more attention grabbing to how they can look in digital? I wouldn't compare to digital. Don't try to compare traditional to digital. They're different mediums. Different things are possible, and you're probably going to just drive yourself crazy if you frame things as like, I'm trying to make the speculars in traditional look better than digital. Like, you work with the benefits of whatever medium you're in. But in general, if you're working traditional, the more you want your specular to pop out, it needs to be higher contrast. How do you do that? You lower the overall tone of the diffuse reflection. In order to do that, as we explained at the beginning of the course in the Nature of Light videos, you need to know what parts of what you're drawing are the diffuse reflection and what parts are the specular reflection. So once you can make that distinction, both looking at a reference and onboard that into what you're doing when you draw from imagination as well, the diffuse parts you lower. So for example, this, I would not say I have done any specular work here. I'm modeling this thinking entirely diffusely. So for example, this deltoid, right? Let's say, now I haven't made this decision, I'm just gonna do this for the sake of teaching. I'd say, all right, I want this to have a stronger reflective specular quality. I'm gonna lower the base tone of the diffuse, which this is probably gonna cause me a problem later, but for the sake of teaching, I'll just rub it down with the stump, going over the whole form. It's getting darker, darker. I'm starting in the shadow to pick up some graphite to spread around. And then that gives me a base to go in with the eraser. Often when I do specular work, that's when the eraser comes out. And now, because it's a darker base, I can lay in speculars that pop out and make a much stronger glossy statement. You see that? So there, those speculars really pop out. If I go somewhere down here where I haven't done that lowering of the base tone yet, if I stick to this area, which is only vaguely diffusely stated, if I cut a specular into here, it's not quite as clear, right? It doesn't make as strong a statement. It could almost just be interpreted as a mistake or just a gap in between the hatch marks. So if you want them to be really poppy, really attention grabbing, you do that. And here they're more balanced with the diffuse reflection. It's someone, ooh, it's Aki's birthday. Aki says, hey Stephen, I drew for 8 hours and meditated among the trees today. Best birthday ever. Ah, a lovely day. Happy birthday, Aki. Congratulations on giving yourself a very, very nice birthday. That sounds great. Buggy, confirm that you heard what I just said for your question, so that when I see it in the feedback section later, you are not totally confused when I leave a comment that says I answered this on stream, which I leave for everybody else's sake, so that they know I didn't just ignore your question. I'll try to link back to this one. Bill Hader has an interesting take on criticism. Basically, if someone says something is wrong off with your creation, you should listen. However, the solution is something only you can figure out. I like that. Guy in your phone says, hey Steven, any new games or movies coming up that you might be excited about? Elden Ring DLC, that's it. I'm very busy these days, so I'm not doing much. Well, I haven't played much recently. I considered trying Helldivers with a couple friends and backed off just because I just can't go deep into something like that right now. I played a couple hours of Tunic the other day because it was free. It was like the free PlayStation Plus game for the month. And I'd seen it before and it seemed interesting. That's it. And the Elden Ring DLC, unfortunately, the way things are shaping up right now, I think I will have to hold off from playing that when it launches. I don't think I will be able to. I think I'm going to wait to play it until after I've shipped my new course. Just gonna roughly reclaim the value structure I had here before. Hold on, I'm gonna put something under my pad because I can barely see my drawing with how much glare there is right now. This paper in particular that I'm drawing on right now, I find gets very glary. It's a watercolor paper. Is your course available internationally? Yeah, because you pay with PayPal and stuff like that. Unless you're in a place where your government blocks certain sites or payment methods, yeah, it should be available. What happened to your studio? What's wrong with the camera's just at a slightly different angle, so you can't really see the usual stuff that's behind me. Because I'm drawing traditional, my camera's kind of in front of my face, so I had to lower the webcam and point it more up. Stephen, how many pieces do you think I'd need in a portfolio for a place like WotC or Flesh and Blood for card art? You could probably start getting work with 6 excellent ones, I would say. You don't need a ton of stuff in a portfolio. You can, if you're starting out and you're just trying to build clients, 6, especially for something like illustration, where it's just like, can you deliver the level of finish and quality they're looking for? 6 great ones that are exactly the kind of stuff they're looking for. It's like they don't have to do any dreaming or getting hypothetical. They're just like, oh yeah, that just looks like our product. You could get the work. Yeah. But that's harder than a lot of people think. When it really gets brought down to brass tacks like that, people find that it's really hard to even do 6. Give yourself a lot of time for that level of quality. If you're starting from scratch, now let's say you already have the skills, right? Because you're asking me about portfolio, like how many pieces need to be in it. Let's just assume you already have the skills. If you have 0 of those pieces so far, even for 6, I would give yourself at least a year to do 6. It is very, very, very difficult to do pieces up to that level of quality. Plan accordingly. Is this a monkey? I think so. Something vaguely based on monkeys or apes, which makes sense because people were talking about monkeys and apes on last stream, and I was watching something this morning that had a bunch of like macaws and things like that in it. Stephen, and what course would that be? Your next one? Yeah, my next one. The design, intro to concept design course. Thanks for the demo. I assume you do the darkening in the early stages of drawing, right? Yeah, usually. I cannot find a comfortable position for my mic today. I keep hitting it. Sorry, everybody. Maybe I should put it higher. 1 second. You know, it's a boom mic. I should boom it, yeah? It's still not quite. All right, there. It's out of the range of my hair. And let's see, am I still loud enough like this? I could give it a little boost. Testing, testing, this is what it sounds like. I'm looking at the waveform. All right. Hello, Felipe. Tunic is really fun, but it's hard to drop and pick back up. I love the art direction for it. It's cute, I like it a lot. Goodbye, Madhav. Singing from imagination when? Yeah, folks. Now you're talking. Now you're asking the right questions. Stephen, can you spread your art like gospel? I already do. What do you think I'm doing here? This is the good news, baby. Stephen Kendrick or Drake? I am not informed enough on this to give an opinion. I am sorry. I am not cool enough to understand anything about what's going on with that feud. I tried to listen to I think it was Kendrick's diss track. I forget which one it was. And I went to click on it and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be funny. He's gonna, yeah. And I listened to it, I didn't understand a word, not from his pronunciation. I didn't get any of the disses because he was like, you know, rapping for real, like doing a real song that was like sophisticated. So I was just like, I don't know what's happening. I was like, you could have fooled me. I wouldn't have thought it was a diss track, you know? Eddie says, hey, Stephen, where can we contact you for advice in case of an artistic crisis? Asking for a friend. You know, it makes me, I know you're not that serious about this, but just because it's an interesting thing, it makes me sad to say that there really is, right now there is no way to reach out to me. Like, you can email me, and my email's around, and I read most of my emails, but I just do not have the time to respond. Even when people send me some very heartbreaking and difficult stuff, which sucks. You know, it didn't used to be that way. I used to have the time to respond to most everything that everybody sent me. But whatever you're going through, you know, my heart is with you. And just remember, any artistic crisis, it's like, it's not about the art. It's never about the art. It's stuff that's going on in you. And if the art feels too hot, it's making you go crazy, it's not about the art. Just put the art to the side for a little bit and investigate what's in here, what's in the heart, you know? And some people need help with that. They need therapy, medication, meditation, whatever kind of a thing, right? So sometimes you just need to get that stuff straight first, and then the art will just kind of handle itself. Like, art, as I've said, art is void, structureless. It cannot hold your problems. It cannot be a source of problems. Anytime you think art is a source of your problems, you're inventing that. You're making the problem and you're projecting it onto art. It's not about the art. So find out what's going on in here and address that. I miss having more time to help people who are in artistic crisis, and I am working towards finding new ways to do that or bring that back, you know. I want to start taking one-on-one students again at some point. I haven't done that in a long time. I miss that. You know, it's just life stuff. I gotta run my business and do the things that I gotta do. But I'm heading towards it. It's been a goal of mine for a long time to just have things set up to a level where I can
do more stuff for free, really. Just make myself more accessible to people and be able to help more directly. I just don't know what that looks like, and I just can't do it right now, but it's been a goal. It's been something that I know I wanted to head towards for a long time. He really hit him with the "it's you, not me." That's funny. Steven, do you think it's okay for someone's art to look like someone else's? And Zeka deleted it. Well, from what I read, yeah, that's all right. It inevitably changes. You always step away from that eventually. It's a normal period to go through. Why would you want to make artworks for other people for free? No, not artworks. Just helping people, teaching. Really, it's not even teaching. Just most people who come to me for like one-on-one stuff, workshops and things like that, they want help with the art, but just the way things have sort of worked out for me, most of the people who come to the workshops, take workshops, do one-on-one teaching, they want help with, they're struggling mentally with the mental aspects of art. And that's the main thing they want help unraveling. And that's what I mean. That's what I want to make myself more accessible for. Not the making of artwork for other people for free. Oh, whoa. Never that. No thanks. Felipe says, I really like this pose. Gonna do an animation right now. Bye. Can't watch the stream and draw, unfortunately. Goodbye, Felipe. Thanks, Eddie. There are a lot of mental aspects to art. You better know that. Zek says, have you done work in pastel, Stephen? A little bit, yeah. I went through a period where I was doing, well, I still do a lot of watercolor, but I really like watercolor, but there was a period where on top of my watercolors, I would use pastel pencils to do corrections and to add details. They're really nice for that. They go nice over watercolor. We can't hear music, bro. Give us one earphone. I'm not listening to anything. I thought I was going to. I just haven't taken my headphones out. And I don't want to take my headphones out because they might auto-connect to my phone when I put them back in, and I don't want to do that because that'll disconnect it from my PC. So that's why I'm wearing them even though I'm not listening to anything. Watched the new Godzilla and Kong movie yesterday. Was cool when he got the mechanical arm part. That does sound pretty cool. I haven't seen it. That can be super heavy and difficult to do constantly for others. Just make sure you are taking care of yourself. You know, weirdly, I'm definitely like a tank for people's anxiety in a lot of situations. And in my personal life, that can indeed be very exhausting. I find in the like artist, teacher, professional capacity, it is almost never tiring. I think there's like just enough distance there where I find helping people with that doesn't tire me. It doesn't drain me. I find it it gives me energy, which is not the case elsewhere in life. In fact, a lot of those, it's like, that doesn't even quite do it. It gives me energy. It's like, it's the most profound experiences I've had in my life. Like something about the process of gathering insight on my end, consolidating it, and then transferring that insight to another in a way that genuinely helps them in their life. I think that's that is the most important thing I do. That's like the best, most fulfilling thing that I do. That never feels wrong, and it can take up physical energy, but it doesn't drain me emotionally, you know? Aki says, Stephen, your videos are immense help for the mental aspects. Meeting them for the first time about 2 years ago were transformative for my art and my life as well, and they are free. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to hear that. I always find it hardening. And yeah, the mental stuff, I like being able to make that stuff free. I think, yeah, I don't know. That's just me. The truth should always be free. Did you always feel this way, or was it something you stumbled upon later in your journey? The interpersonal stuff? Yeah, I didn't realize that or experience that until I started teaching, which was, I think I took my first one-on-one student in 2016, 2017, something like that. Is that right? So I didn't find that out until then. What was making art personal to you all about? If you are okay with answering that? Oh, I mean, existential need. I mean, a time came where I was just like, all right, I need to figure out what I really think about this and feel about this and make some very personal things, or I'm going to explode. Just ain't that the way life goes? What you do out of necessity. It happens when it needs to happen. Hey, Steven, do you sometimes still mess up drawing stuff that you have drawn 1,000 times by now, like muscles or anatomy, etc.? No. What? Of course not. I'm the undisputed master of drawing. Would I be the undisputed master if I still made silly little mistakes like that? Of course not. And it's insulting that you would even propose such a thing. Yes, I do. Of course I do. Drawing is very complicated. You're never going to have it all beat. That's one of the beautiful things about drawing, because you can never have it quite pinned. You can do it for your whole life and just keep getting better. It's a bottomless well of fun and learning. And not everything in life is like that. It's a rare and special thing. Name a few artists you look up to. So many. Frank Frazetta, John Singer Sargent, John William Waterhouse, Lawrence Alma-Tadema, Ernst Fuchs, Marko Djurdjevic, Wes Burt, There's just like so many. I don't even if I sat down and tried to write a list for an hour, it wouldn't be a long enough list. It'd still be a first pass. I've been looking at art for so long. And there's so much good stuff, you know? Thank you, Meow. Rashi says, it very much seems like a deep calling. I'm glad you find such fulfillment from giving to others. Like many, the advice and videos you make have been a huge help for me along my journey. I'm very happy to hear that. No, I love it a lot. Why is it so much darker in here all of a sudden? Oh, and I'm on the wrong video mode. What the? Oh, that don't look right. I was shooting some face cam stuff earlier and I forgot to change my video mode on my camera. Shania says, nice self-portrait. I'm joking. Don't ban me. You're banned. You are so banned. You're in serious trouble. You are in serious trouble. Is it a bat gorilla? Sure. Can't wait to send this drawing to my gallerist at Gagosian and make $5 million off of it like usual. Can't wait for ArtNet and Artform and Hyperallergic to reach out to me for comment like usual. Speaking of Frank Frazetta, do you know what exactly you like about his work, like lighting, colors, and shadows, or is it always the image as a whole that gets you? Sorry if it's a dumb question. He's great at a lot of things. The thing that, when I was young, got me really into it was the way he designed the form of the body. It was like his particular choices about the structure of body parts, like what's boxy, what's cylindrical, what's spherical. The way he intersected them and blended them into each other is it's very iconically his own. That was the thing that did it for me. And then later, I came to appreciate like his composition and his color. He has great color. When I fell in love with him when I was young, I mean, I'd seen the paintings and I thought the paintings were great, but what really made me like, oh shit, this guy was one of the best, and like want to study his work was not his paintings, it was his drawings, like his rough sketches in his sketchbook and his ink drawings. Hello, Emma. The biceps are referenced from Stephen's own? No. That arm looks like, that's what my feet look like, actually. It's referenced off of my feet. Air Temptress says, I find you to be very therapeutic. I'm glad. I am glad. I only speak the truth. It is the truth that you find therapeutic. The creature reminds me of the Primal show a bit by the artist who did Samurai Jack. Yeah. I haven't watched it, but I've seen a lot of the designs. And I have a few friends who are huge fans. That show looks awesome. What's his name? Is it? I forget. It's the name of the Primal and Samurai Jack guy. Is it Andy Taraki or something like that? Tarake? Long ago, in a distant land, I, Aku, the shape-shifting master of darkness, unleashed an unspeakable evil. But a foolish samurai warrior wielding a magic sword stepped forth to oppose me. Shing, shing, shing. Before the final blow was struck, I opened a portal in time. Tartakovsky. Gendy Tartakovsky or something. Yeah, I was way off there. How much damage can that creature take? It's 15 easy, dog. In terms of damage, 15 easy. I mean, if I was trying to do like a sliding scale, like adjusted, like accounting for inflation, like buffs, debuffs, nerfs, it's 15. I'd say it's 15 easy, dog. God bless you. Perfect. Thank you so much. Everything okay out there? Would it be correct to assume they're fairy type? I don't know what that means. I'm going to use watercolor paper as a towel for this wet cup because it's watercolor paper. It absorbs water. So what's the problem? Sean says, it's hard to tell how you are getting the darker tones. Is it the lead or pressing harder? It looks great. I press hard. I press hard as hell. In an area like that, like I'd say right now, that and like the gums and the eyes are like the darkest darks. At this point, I'm very used to it. When I touch down in that area, I am pressing hard as hell. You know, this filming mode doesn't look very good either. Did I prefer the other one? That one looks more like the values, but that one looks more like the transitions. Tiered says, Stephen, I was just wondering, what do you do to make it look like such a large creature? Why is it hard to imagine it as a small creature without any surrounding? I think it's the going for the thickness, as I like to think of it. You know, a limb like this, unless you draw it with intention, it's easy to let it get skinnier, 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 average out. Going for a significant width makes things feel more massy. Michelangelo, master of that. Even if you do nothing, like it's like even if you do no muscular details, right? If I tell you, if I put in your brain that this blob is someone's torso, and then if I just say, all right, this is his arm, and it has that severe thickness, it just feels huge. It just feels gigantic, right? Rather than a more average arm. So it's that, and then details, scale of details, having a lot of finicky little tendons and stuff like that on something like anatomy, but it goes for any subject matter, which I naturally do, so it just works out for me. But all these little details, little hatches, the finicky little tendons, things overlapping and inserting into each other, those naturally make something feel larger because larger things tend to have more room for little details on them. Sean gives me 2, what is that one? Is that pounds or is that lira? Either way, thank you so much. Fantastic to watch, thank you very much. Very fantastic to receive your donation. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. Sorry, I need to slurp my tea or else it doesn't make me happy. If I drink it without slurping, it's like I didn't drink anything at all. It needs to be slurped. Too busy slurping. I can't slurp enough. Ooh, ooh, but you never slurp late. Never had plans for a quiet life. It's slurped. Too busy slurping. I can't slurp enough. Whoa, Fracticist with the $20 donation. Whew! Ouch. That's a big spend. That's a big spend. Let's give Fracticist the big heart. First donation, thank you so much. And such a simple comment, art and then a pencil. It's beautiful. Thank you, Fracticist. Fractithist. 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 Thank you so much. Where would I be without you? I'd be in a hovel, that's where I would be. My wife would go hungry. I wouldn't have been able to get antibiotics for my dog when she got Lyme disease this week. But because of you, Fractithist, everything's gonna be all right. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It is very kind of you to give a drawing man on the internet some money. That's very kind. It's very kind. Hello, Tia. 20 says, why don't babies seem huge then, silhouette-wise, LOL? Maybe they just need some more little details. What size is the sketchbook you're working in today? I've been thinking of getting a larger one, 5x7, 9x12. I like bigger. This 11x14. That's what this one is. It's a watercolor pad. This is a nice, this watercolor pad, the Fabriano Studio watercolor. I actually rarely use it for watercolor, but where I get it, it's pretty cheap. For 50 sheets of a high quality, thick watercolor paper that takes pencil well, it's actually a very good deal in cost per sheet. Sad drawings. Oh no. Sad, sad drawings. Hey Stephen, I mainly focus on pencil drawings from references like nature and birds. Pencils are never a constraint. No, yeah, I think they're great. I never feel constrained by pencil. Pencil is such a beautiful medium. How's the little pupper doing, poor dog? She's doing great. I mean, she has Lyme disease. Like, she's on antibiotics now, so it's on its way out, but she does have it. But antibiotics, pain meds, if you didn't know, you wouldn't think she's sick at all. Right now, she's great. You wouldn't think she's sick if you saw her walking around. Have you noticed any significant change in artist employment in your circle? I'm still just learning and don't know how much of an actual impact AI is having. Without saying too much, yeah. And even if it's not just cases of it taking away employment, it also is just affecting people's employment. It's doing that too. Just like you thought your job was one thing and now you've been pulled into a meeting and your boss is telling you like you have to use AI and that's what you do now. So maybe you still have your job, but it is affecting the nature of your employment and your job. But I can't cite specific examples because most of that stuff has been told to me in confidence, and because those people are almost universally under NDAs for their studios. So yeah, I can't give specifics there. But yeah, I've seen and learned about a lot of stuff. But I feel good about all that stuff right now, for the record. I'm not gonna say that I know how things are gonna go, but I think that the fight is on and there's a lot of battlegrounds and there's just a lot of ways things can go right. So I also think big head and small body usually looks small and cute. Small head and big body looks huge and scary. That's also a thing. That's specifically for organic designs, but most animals, as they get much larger, or as they get larger, There's certain things about the scale of like brains and how expensive a huge skull is and things like that, where it's like a smaller head, bigger animals, like their head is smaller proportionally compared to their body. It's not like some animals don't have huge heads, right? Like an elephant, right? An elephant's skull is just tremendous, right? But like a giraffe's head, for example, you know, proportionally speaking, how much bigger is it than a deer's skull? And then when you compare the body of the deer to the body of the giraffe, like it's clear what part is getting bigger proportionally. Also, eyes tend not to get bigger as a creature gets huger, and brain, so skull, cranial mass. So within the skull, the cranial mass tends not to get bigger as a creature gets larger because it's not getting more intelligent most of the time. It's the jaws. The jaws will get more massive, but eyes and cranial mass will tend to, they will grow slower than the rest of the body is growing, proportionally speaking. Gabriel says, Steve, could you tell me how still life happens when you get to these drawings? Well, it's just, you know, if you can't render a cylinder, what are the odds that you're going to be able to render an arm like this, which is basically a cylinder with a huge amount of undulations and bulges on it? So it's just a steady progression up to the more complicated forms. And a still life, classically construed, like drawing some soda cans or something like that, is just a way to give you some illusion of interesting content while you focus on the basic geoshapes. You know, a book is basically a box. Soda cans are cylinders. Things like that. Got a little maze of wires over here by my hand today. A real maze of wires. Leela says, holy crap, I'm rendering a cylinder in a still life right now. Whoa. Fractus says, back to work, pray for me. Thanks for the live stream, Stephen. Hope to catch another one soon. I'm praying for you. Good luck at work, Fractus. And thank you again for the donation. I appreciate it. Buggy says, Steven, I want to do more creative designs, but I'm constantly concerned about and limiting myself, thinking that this couldn't exist in real life. I love seeing these designs, so why can't I draw them? This is a common problem. I was actually just writing this into the syllabus for my design course, actually, but it's a temperamental thing that can get rewritten. Most people, not most people, it's a temperamental thing, but a lot of designers, because they've never scrutinized it before, they spend too much time thinking about what is not possible. And you shouldn't think about what's not possible, not that much. You should focus, your primary focus should be on what is possible, the vast amount of possibilities. It's a mental switch. If you need to do an exercise, you can take almost anything, right, to do this exercise with, but take something that you really don't know much about. So boats, for example. Maybe you know a lot about boats, but I don't, right? Just sit and make a list that's right at the top of a piece of paper or a note or a Word file, and just write things that I think are impossible for boats. And just make a list. Try to think of as many impossible things, like no boat could possibly do this or be this or anything like this, right? And just literally sit and make the list. Get to 10 or 20 things, and then go Google all of the things that you wrote, and almost all of them will be real. Almost all of them will be real. Like for boats, do you think that could ever be possible that there is a boat that is a long, normal shaped boat that can transform into being a totally vertical boat that floats on its ass and all of its long length has plunged underwater? Do you think that's possible? It is. They're called remote sensing platforms or something like that. They're huge, they're gigantic, and they literally transform in the middle of the ocean. They fill their whole long nose. They fill their whole long mass, like out on this part of my arm. They let water into the bilges and they just, now my shoulder is the top of the boat and just that part bobs up at the top of the water. And there's people on gangways who are just rotating with the boat. They don't even care. It's a huge boat. They're using it to take scientific measurements and things like that. Like everything that you think is impossible is 100% possible in just about everything. Try it with cars. Say, there can't be a car that's a bubble. There can't be a car that's 2 foot by 2 foot. There can't be a car that does ABC. Someone's made it. Someone's made it in their garage. So it's just a lack of exposure to the reality of design. It's like a lot of stuff is impossible mass produced, but God, people are geniuses. Like almost anything is possible in at least a one-off. So it's a lack of exposure to how much is really out there in the world. And as the years go on as a designer, as you spend more and more time researching, you find out that probably everything that you think is impossible has happened somewhere at some point. And then you can do the switch and you start thinking about all the possibilities instead of what's not possible. Caleb says, hey, Stephen, I hope you're well. I'm great. I love your work and appreciate you as an artist very much. Thank you so much, Caleb. Who loves you? Are you using references for that or not? For this, no. Usually when I'm on stream, I don't use reference just because there's enough to manage stream. I've got enough screens. I really don't need any more. This is all from Imaginación. Are you thinking of direct sunlight for this guy? I mean, I don't think of it as sunlight. I just generally, when I draw, I just think of a point light source, which is what sunlight is like. I just render like that. I prefer hard shadows. Point light sources produce hard shadows, and just for me, the kind of form effects I want to show, I prefer hard shadows. I feel like it shows form more clearly. I like the contrast between the soft edges of form shadows and the hard edges of cast shadows. It lets me show what's form shadow and what's cast shadow really quickly, you know. Your shadows are very similar to Alex Ross's. Yeah, I think he does a lot of point light sources as well. So you mean a spotlight produces more contrasty shadows because there's much less ambient light? No, a spotlight in a theater-like situation would do that. But even in a very strong ambient light situation, like being outside on a bright day where there's tons of ambient light, right? The whole environment is illuminated. It's that a point light source, that is to say a small light source, will produce hard shadows. And a large light source, like let's say a window in your house that is letting in skylight, will produce soft shadows. And that's just based on the physics of how photons are emitted from those light sources. So, and people get confused here. It's like, well, the sun is huge, right? It's like, yes, but where in our relative position to the sun is tiny, right? You can cover the sun with your hand held at arm's length. So it is like a point light source. So any small light source produces hard shadows. Any large light source produces soft shadows. And another thing that's counterintuitive about it that people don't understand, often misunderstand, it has nothing to do with the intensity of the light source. A weak, small light source, like a candle flame, for example, will still produce hard shadows. And an ultra strong, big light source, like, for example, a professional skylight that they would use on a movie set, for example, to replicate a bright day. It'll be it's a light that costs $100,000. It's a huge LED light that is maybe like, it could be any arbitrary size, but let's say it's 20 feet by 20 feet, right? It's large. It could be weak or it could be very intense. They could tone it down to that huge light. They could tone it down to be weaker than a candlelight, or they could crank it to maximum strength where it would blind you. It would always produce soft shadow transitions because the light source is large, so it's diffusing the way the photons get spread out. If you're interested in learning more stuff like that, check out my course, Form from Imagination. It's on sale. The first module is the nature of light and explains things like that, the differences between large and small light sources, the nature of diffuse reflection, the nature of specular reflection, all sorts of stuff like that. Good night, Menace Plays. When you were learning, was there a point where everything just clicked, Stephen? Oh, I've had many thousands of times where I felt like it clicked. I think a lot of artists will understand this, but probably it's like every couple weeks you'll have an experience where you're like, I've got it. This is it. This is the secret to great art. And then you leave that behind, and then 2 weeks later, you're like, now I have it. This is it. And another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks. I've had those experiences a lot, all the time. It feels like it clicks over and over again. And there's also this beautiful feeling of like, it's almost like every day when you're hitting it right in the sweet spot, it's like every day you're like, it's like today's the first time I'm ever drawing for real. You know, you can get that feeling. It's like, oh, I was never quite doing it until today. Today I'm getting it, you know, and you could just have that day after day after day. Steven, do you need complete silence in order to draw? No. I don't need it, but I do take it a lot of the time. Especially if I have like a problem that I need to solve, that I really prefer to do with just absolute silence. I just want to give it my full attention. Even a podcast or an audiobook can kind of pull you out of the work real often. So if I'm really trying to sink into it, I tend to do that with just nothing going on. Just me and the drawing. I'm trying to find one of those transforming boats on Google. I must see one. Let me get their name right. I forget exactly what they're called. Oh, someone else. Floating instrument platform. That's what it is. Tian says, by the way, the video where you danced to Close to You by Catnip made me giggle a lot. I made my day. I'm glad you liked the things I do for my audience. Don't give pirates any ideas? What about the floating instrument platform? Been trying to read Arthur Schopenhauer? What do you think? He's, what was his thing? Oh, like everything is driven by like a universal will or something like that? Will to power? Or is that Nietzsche? Is will to power Schopenhauer or Nietzsche? The world as will and representation, right? Two will-based philosophies there. Man can do what he wills, but not will what he wills. Amen, brother. So what's Schopenhauer on about when he says the world as will and representation? I've never read Schopenhauer. Well, I think I might have opened an ebook of his treatises like once. But I've never really looked into it. I've always interpreted, just off the name, I've always interpreted that from a sort of Buddhist framework. From a Buddhist framework, just that sentence, the world as will and representation, only a Buddhist framework can make sense of that sentence for me. You know, very much aligns with, the world being dukkha, unsatisfactory, besanavijja, delusion. And all that being born of clinging, the clinging being sort of this delusional sense of will. The Buddha explicitly seems to claim in the doctrine of dependent origination that clinging, if we interpret that as will, sort of manifests representations. That is to say, form, the perception of form, the reality of form, sankharas, all the aggregates. So I don't actually know if that's the kind of thing that Schopenhauer's talking about there, but just that crazy tangle of a sentence that his most famous treatise or book is named after. It makes sense to me in a Buddhist framework, just at a glance, but he has a letter to his sister where he refers to we Buddhists. Oh, okay. Was Schopenhauer a Buddhist? Schopenhauer was heavily influenced by Eastern philosophies. He was a hermit. He didn't like his peers and contemporaries. Interesting. Very interesting. Eckhart, Shankara, Buddha, and I all teach the same. Interesting. I didn't know that about Schopenhauer. I think I'd heard people make connections before, but I didn't know there was any of him sort of directly tying himself to that. Anyone else listen to the podcast Philosophize This? He just had a great series about the self. Ah, the self. The illusory self. I've listened to Philosophize This a bunch of times, but it's been a while. I don't think I've listened to Philosophize This in probably like over 2 years. So I remember specifically listening to it running around the track that I lived at, the track that I would go to when I lived in my last apartment. So I don't think I've listened to it since. He thinks our dreams and senses are coupled with memories, which means it's impossible to objectively recall our experiences 100%. I think that's undeniable. I don't know how you could support a claim that you could objectively recall an experience. I think in some sense it's like to do that would basically be akin to you reliving it entirely, like just like it happened. You'd basically disassociate, your body would crumple to the ground and you'd go into VR for a second and just relive the memory or something like that. Goodbye, Daryl. Take care. Good luck at work. Splinter Seller says, do you know Draw Sessions YouTube channel? I don't think I do. Maybe I just don't recognize the name because I get served all sorts of stuff. Not lately, though. I turned off my watch history on YouTube. I'm much more blind to YouTube right now. Just for anybody who's interested in something like that, turning off your watch history on YouTube does not just make your watch history disappear. Your homepage crumbles. They stop serving you stuff. The whole homepage where you usually get blasted with algorithmic recommendations for what to watch, it just comes up blank. It just has a notification that says, please turn on your watch history. So they don't even use your old watch history. It just completely cuts off the front page. Nice way to take a break if you're interested. Yeah, that's how it works. Pretty crazy, right? When my friend told me about it, my friend Omar told me about it when I said I was annoyed by YouTube a while ago. And I had the same misunderstanding. He told me, turn off your watch history. And I was like, well, that's not going to change much. And he was like, no, it completely turns off your homepage. So when he told me that, I was like, I did it right away. You just switch it off in settings? Yeah, it's in just Google. If you Google how to turn off YouTube watch history, it'll give you directions, because it's kind of like in a buried setting. It's in like an advanced somewhere. And it's not in your YouTube. You have to turn it off, you have to go to like your overall Google account settings, if I remember correctly, and then turn it off in there. This is like YouTube enlightenment. It says 248, yeah. YouTube's gonna delete this stream when they find out that I'm recommending turning off your watch history in here. Morgan says Planet of the Apes fan art. Is there something that looks like this in Planet of the Apes? That'd be awesome. Nah, I just wanted to draw some classic, the kind of thing I like to draw. Organic-y, muscly stuff. And I probably have, I probably just have my background love of the look of hairless apes in my head. It came out like this. Many a time over many, many years have I Googled hairless ape for inspiration. You turn it off or delete your watch history? No, it's like you turn it off. They call it turning it off, like deactivate. I don't remember now. I did this a while ago. Maybe it is deleting it. Let me do a quick. It's turn it off. That's what it's called. The quick instructions I'm seeing here are sign into Google account, go to myactivity.google.com, click YouTube history, click turn on or turn off. Granola says, many a time over many years have I dated many a hairless ape. Fun times. That's funny. It's funny how used to just in comparison to like earlier parts of my art journey, it's weird now how used to it I am to just like I just threw a scribble at the very beginning of this stream and then I just rendered it for 2 hours and 40 minutes. That would have given me an aneurysm 10 years ago. And now I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Well, making my mission to complete this tonight. Nice. Says Emma. Toof says, hasn't changed my YouTube homepage, but maybe it takes time to update. We'll see. It does do it. It does do it. It turns it into this. Oh, wait. I don't have my... Let me just quickly switch over to my other screen share. turns it into that. That's what I get when I open YouTube. It's great. It's much, much better. I still use YouTube, but it's like I have to choose to go watch something. And I go search for things that I think about. I'm like, oh, you know what I should watch? I have to like go get it with intention, you know? Instead of it just being an automatic, like getting served stuff and being like, oh, I gotta watch that, you know? And yeah, someone said it in the chat earlier, but it makes you pay more attention to your subs too. Because now you're more inclined to actually go click into your subscriptions and see what people have been up to. So yeah, I did it a while ago, so I forget the exact setting, but just to show that that's what you're going for. That's what it does. MF's gonna watch Gendy's Primal. Yeah, we were talking about Primal earlier. People are big fans in here. Nihal says, do you stream daily? No. I've streamed the past 3 days. I stream often, but not daily. I won't stream tomorrow, for example, because my wife works from home on Mondays. And she can't be on a work call, and then they hear me in the background saying like, oh, Cthulhu? Yeah, I think I remember him. Sort of a 300-foot tall, esoteric, leather-winged octopus dragon sort of a fella. Name supposed to be carved, something like Cthulhu. Slumbers for aeons in his sunken city of Relais. Yeah, I think I saw him casting a lugubrious shadow over our town, maybe a week or two ago during the Firemen's Independence Day fair. They can't be hearing that. They can't be hearing that on the call, on the work call. Wanted to read a book about this, More or Less, Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. Read another book of his that I liked about productivity. Yeah, nice. I don't know, I think it's always good to check your hygiene there in this age that we live in. I don't know, it's not for everyone, but just like, I don't like having these damn slot machines like on my phone in my pocket all the time and things like that. I keep Instagram off my phone now. I just gave up on it. I just had to give up the war. I just had to admit, you know what? I can't have a healthy relationship with this thing. I mean, I was never bad, but it's just like, by healthy, I mean like anything that felt right to me, you know? I need it pretty minimal. I just gave up. I have it on there now to post about the sale this week. I hate it. Aki says, Steven, what's a healthy way to communicate about my art to non-artists? I'm asking for personal life stuff, not for professional settings. Anytime it comes up in conversation, I think I confuse people. Well, I will be honest. I'm not the best, probably not the best person to answer this, because I don't, in my personal life, I very rarely talk to people about my art. Even my best friends, my family. It's like if they ask, I'll talk about it. But beyond that, I really don't. It's just, I don't have the expectation that anyone needs to care or understand, you know? So yeah, I really don't. I just recently, like my friend Omar came over the apartment. He was dropping something off, and I showed him the drawing I had finished most recently. I showed him the Demiurge Creates Atom, and he, I had told him the name, just showing him a drawing. I said, this one's called Demiurge Creates Atom. And I guess that name was like direct enough that really kind of for the first time, he was like, is that a thing? Like, what is that? Is this about something? And I was like, yeah, it's about something. And he asked me basically for the first time, like, tell me what your drawing's about. And I told him, this part, if someone asked me, tell me what you, Steven, thought you were doing while you did this drawing. When it does come up, that stuff I only share with friends and family. I wouldn't put that out there publicly, like in a context like this. So I told him. And for the first time, really, we've been friends forever. He was like, are your drawings about stuff? Like what you just said to me? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you sit here all day and think about stuff like that? And I was like, yeah, that's what artists do, man. You know that. You know that's what artists do. I'm an artist. I know that, you think of me more just like your friend, but that's why I got in the game, baby. It's like, that's why artists do their thing. They sit around and they have feelings and they think deeply about things and they philosophize. So he asked directly, but if someone doesn't, he directly asked me, what is it about? Like, what is this to you? If someone doesn't ask me directly, I never talk about it. I never bring it up. If it's like the drawing, you don't need to bring it up. It's like the person who's ready to hear it, or to connect with it on that level, they will ask. The drawing is bait enough. You know, if it's compelling enough, strange enough, or just it's clear it has something in it, they'll ask. Social media talk. Maybe some people feel genuinely good in a social media environment, genuinely, but I doubt it. Some people thrive much more better in it than others. I think that's definitely true. Oddly enough, Pinterest has been a nice substitute from what I originally used Instagram for. That makes sense to me. That does make sense to me. Oh yeah, like nobody said, Pinterest has it's so much AI now. Good night, Aki. Toof says, that whole vibe and mood shift when talking about your friend and explaining the drawing is the reason I wanted to do art in the first place. Forgot that sometimes as I focus and hone my technical skills and worry about career stuff. So thanks for the reminder. Nice. Get back to the source. Right back to the source. How you doing, love? Good, I'm just working. What's the deal out there?
Katie's wondering if we can go over her house for dinner.
Oh, okay. What time?
Don't know. Figured I'd check with you first.
You want to go? Or you want to have them over here?
I don't think they'll come over here.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Screw it. I'll get off in a little bit. Okay?
No rush. No rush. I like that drawing.
Thanks.
All right. See you later.
cool Slavic squat. Yeah. Yeah, this AI period sucks. I didn't think it'd get so bad so fast. I mean, it's literally always in your way when you're searching for reference. And even if there's not a lot of AI stuff in a search for a particular kind of reference, it's like you have to run the process. You have that paranoia of like, you have to check for it, you know? I always like to do little different personalities for each toe. Why don't you want to use AI for reference? I would do it myself. I wouldn't do it myself, but I want to know your reasons. Are they ethical or is there something else to it? Yeah, it's ethical and it's also just they're inaccurate. You know, if you're looking for This happened to me when I was doing bat characters for this project. I was searching for bats, and I was searching, and I was getting a ton of AI generated images of bats instead of real bats, and they couldn't resolve the actual structure of things like noses and the claws and things like that. They're just inaccurate. And if you can't trust that, how can you trust the rest of it, you know? You're dealing with unknown unknowns when you're getting references for things that you're unfamiliar with. So you don't even have the necessary knowledge to evaluate how far off the AI is, you know? So I just can't really, I don't want to risk it at all. Just rather know I'm looking at the real thing. So I can say, all right, well, that's how a bat's ear is shaped, how its nose is shaped, how its claws are structured. Why is this not silent? Stephen, do you have any videos on the fear of being sincere? Not directly, no, but no, I don't think so. I talk about it on stream every now and then, but I wouldn't know how to guide you to streams where I talk about it. It's just, you know, it's not anything crazy. You know, the fear of being sincere is is just a culturally determined thing, you know? It's just you probably grew up in an environment where feelings, emotions, or anything like deep or weird thoughts were disincentivized or just seen to be cringe. You know, it's just that cultural programming that you need to defeat. It seems to mostly be universally held by men, more universally held by men. I don't know. From what I've seen as a teacher, women seem to encounter that one less. And I mean, just to speak with you guys perfectly honestly, it's very mundane. It's just like, you probably grew up in a situation where if you ever expressed any emotions or anything weird, someone would say, well, what are you, gay? You know? I just, it got in your head. That might have been other guys at school. It might have been dad, you know, and it just fucked you up. You just got to get over it. You know, I grew up, I was going to school in the 90s in Queens, New York, you know. So I got plenty of that. I was exposed to plenty of that. So I know where that's coming from. And then some people struggle with that makes them fall back on, you know, what was acceptable in that pubescent context was comedy. So it's like, I can do funny, not serious things fine. You know, the other guys, you know, I want the other guys laughing with me instead of at me. It's just like, that's deep, deep in your head. So people sort of adopt this sort of detached irony thing, which is actually a defense mechanism. you know, you throw it out. You throw it out, you know. It barely needs to be parsed, you know, just drop it like a sack of potatoes. It'll only hold you back. And those guys and dad are never gonna like your art, so don't worry about them. You'll never please them with your work, so you never have to spend a second worrying about them again. In terms of your work. In terms of your artwork. It's just not for them, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be for everybody. It can't be for everybody. How do you distinguish between being iterative and having a style? I'm not sure I understand that question. I think everybody has a style. One of my recent videos, the most recent Q&A, the Patreon Q&A, one of the answers is me discussing how style is not optional. Maybe that would help you. It's like everybody's running the elements of art through a lens whenever they work. So you're either ignorant to it or intentional about it. I'm not crying, you're crying. Yeah, no homo and all that. All the other things that we had to say to couch and obfuscate our need for same-sex fellowship. I never had that. Never had that problem. I was always kissing my male friends on the nape of their necks and holding their hands to let them know that I cared about them. I was always pulling them close and whispering into their ears and telling them with a sincere and full heart, I love you. I love you. And I would never say no homo. Full homo. Goro Bart says, this reminds me of those bald gorilla pictures. Yeah, we've been talking about that. They're always in the back of my mind. Hairless apes, I've Googled that many times. The same-sex fellowship of the ring, yeah. Speaking of crying, says Emma, I'm binging Lord of the Rings. Do you have a favorite character, Stephen? Probably Gandalf, just the main fellowship. The Balrog is always my favorite visual, though. The Balrog's awesome. All right, everybody, we've been going for over 3 hours here, and I'm getting a little tired and a little hungry. So I'm going to start wrapping up. Sword Panda 7 says, I have trouble drawing echidnas. It always doesn't seem right. And then I see this. Mind blown again, Stephen. May my hairless ape inspire you in your drawings of echidnas. I wish you the best on your echidna drawings. You get that knuckles right. Suman Gin says, can you be so straight that you loop past gay, past bi, back to straight? I think it will take a greater philosopher than I to answer that one. Gorbard says, are you sure you aren't a Renaissance artist that time traveled here? I might be. I don't know, but it's a possibility. Who knows what I'll find out about myself? Emma says, Gandalf the Grey or Gandalf the Gay? All right, now we're clearly 3.5 hours in. We've gone full punchy. We gotta pull the emergency brake on this before the chat gets out of control. Gandalf the Gay, for sure. For sure. This was a fun drawing to do. I had fun drawing this today. Nice little break, because I've been working really hard on the project, so nice to take a little break to just whip out the old pencils and just do my little thing. Not done. We could maybe finish it on the next one, along with working on something else. But most of the work is there. It's just some unresolved areas still. Got to do the hands and stuff. All right, everybody. Rashi says bye. Thanks for the stream, Stephen. My pleasure. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Colin. Colin says it looks great. Thank you. I appreciate it. MF, the comic project or another project? The comic project. That even looks great upside down. Let's see. Not bad. It's kind of got its own charm upside down. Fun. Real fun to do my bread and butter stuff there. I could do stuff like this so fast now. You know, like I said, I just threw a scribble. If you watch the beginning of the stream, I just like, I just did whatever like that. And then I'm so used to it now. I'm just like, yeah, I'll commit to this for 3 hours. Who cares? It doesn't. It's a lot of fun to do stuff like that. All right, everybody. Take care. I will see you all soon. The course is on sale. I have to say that again. There it is. There's the info. Check out the site. The syllabus is on the site. It's $100 off the version with feedback. It's $50 off premium and core. What else can I say? Nothing. Happy you're here. Hope you all have a lot of fun drawing. I have a Patreon. I should mention the Patreon more often around here. I have a Patreon. I appreciate all the Patreon supporters. I'm posting very weird deep end stuff on the Patreon these days to experiment with it. I'm not saying it'll be behind the paywall forever. I'm testing it over there, trying to figure out what the hell am I actually doing by breaking out of just talking about art. So at some point I'll release that stuff somewhere, just because I intended for it to be public at some point, and I want it to be helpful to people in the world. But if you're interested in getting some patron-only content right now, that is patron-only content. You can hear them as I post them, watch them as I post them. That might be of interest of you. And there's a bunch of other stuff on the Patreon. You get early access to the YouTube videos, and Patreon's really the only place I post my art now as well. I don't really post on Instagram or anything anymore. So if you want to see .jpegs more often of the stuff I'm working on, I post them to Patreon. And yeah, what else? That's all I got for you. I'm gonna go eat. Take care, everybody. There won't be a stream tomorrow. My wife works from home on Mondays. But I will see you all Tuesday, most likely. Take care, everyone. Happy drawing. Goodbye to Colin, goodbye to Gabrielle, goodbye to Nihal, goodbye to Sean, goodbye to Toof48, Emma Blomskog, Air Temptress, who says it was very fun to be here as always. Stephen, thank you so much. My pleasure. Goodbye to Leela Wahab, goodbye to Arashi Nakamura, Colin Gallagher, MF, Sword Panda 7. Did I already say Sword Panda? Suman Gins, and Goro Bard. And how can we forget Matej Koyar? Come on. Thank you, everybody. Take care.